Hello, welcome to another Burgundy with Tweedy video. I have been in the pub this afternoon meeting an old former work colleague, so the tasting notes may be a little less precise than usual. I think that would be fair to say. It is actually a Friday afternoon, but having done a bit of a run of English sparkling earlier in the week, I somehow was in more of a mood for Burgundy. So here is some Gevrey Chambertin. It's a 2018 vintage and it is a quadruple barreled name of the producer, or triple barreled name, sorry. Domaine Coquard, Loison, Fleurot. Any of those of you who are gluttons for punishment enough to be following both this channel and the spectacularly unpopular English Sparkling with Tweedy channel will note that I'm actually sitting on the same bench as I was just yesterday for a video there where I had a faulty bottle, which was all rather upsetting, and it was raining. Not that I mind the rain. Fingers crossed, wish me luck. I'm hoping for a better result today. Colour-wise, that is darkish. Sorry about the plane noise going overhead. Can I be bothered to wait? It's one of those slightly plummy kind of Burgundies, slightly plummy kind of Gevrey Chambertins. When I say plummy, I think often what I'm referring to, I've mentioned this before, this plum sauce you have with duck pancakes. Is that even plum based? It's a sort of sweet and possibly some sort of fermented bean kind of sauce. You know what I mean? The thing when you're having those duck pancakes, you put a little smear of it onto the pancake with your cucumbers and your crispy roasted duck, that thing. There is something quite deep and rich and sweet and plummy there. The fruit character, fittingly for the colour, is more sort of dark berry fruit, particularly Victoria plums. Sometimes that goes hand in hand with black currant. Not really sure I'm getting that here, because it's sort of richer and sweeter and thicker as a smell than black currant would be, which is a little bit more tart. I know it's weird to describe a smell as tart. There's sort of hints around the edge of even maybe demerara sugar, something like that. So it's overall quite a sweet sort of smell there, almost desserty kind of smell. And this is a 2018 vintage, and that is one of the characteristics of 2018. Hot year, produced a lot of sugar in the grapes. Sometimes those wines can go a bit overboard and be a little bit jammy, but I've found with time, we're now in the latter stages of 2024, that sort of settles down a bit and becomes more appealing. I've encountered this style of Gevrey Chambertin a few times before. I think this comes from relatively heavy extraction, and you get this kind of comparatively dense, comparatively thick style, which again is kind of plummy on the palate, quite sort of thick, quite rich. There is something slightly floral on that nose as well. It's not the usual violet or rose, actually. It's tempted to say something like sort of cherry blossom or plum blossom, or I'm not exactly sure I can remember what their fragrance is, but then again, that sort of fairly heavily extracted style on the palate leads to a wine that's quite dense, quite rich. By Burgundy standards, obviously, we never get much beyond the realms of medium body for Burgundy, for Pinot Noir. But this is, as Gevrey Chambertin goes, quite thick, relatively quite heavy. And again, it has that plumminess, slight saltiness almost on the palate. Very much, once again, reminded of the sauce for duck pancakes. Even a hint of Japanese pickled plums, umeboshi, but without the sourness. And tea, hints of tea in amongst all of that, which is interesting. I think that's just the way the tannins are manifesting here. This is a particular style of Gevrey Chambertin, of Burgundy, as I say, that I have encountered a few times before. It's dense, it's plummy, it's rich, not like the more sort of concentrated cherry style of Gevrey Chambertin, which is probably my favourite. But this is an interesting, different version. I've seen this from a few different producers. Maybe this makes more of a food wine. Probably would work quite well with Chinese food. There's also some nice mineral hints there. Yeah, it's got a lot going for it. I do like it. Different from perhaps the last one I had from Gevrey Chambertin. I think it says something more about the winemaking style rather than necessarily the particular parcels of land from which the grapes are drawn. I think this is just a case of, relatively heavy extraction, but it does make for quite a nice wine, and I enjoy it in its own right. Isn't that nice? The view from some of the way up Parliament Hill. Alas, I have to leave, but there might even be a half decent sunset this evening if I had the luxury of being able to stay around.